everyone, it's Sam Vokes at Wycombe Wanderers, and you're listening to the Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, an hour packed of Wycombe Wanderers things. Myself and Bob bringing you literally everything.
Indeed, yes. Tonight we will reflect on the thrilling 0-0 draw against Shrewsbury Town. You're now meant to do the next bit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yeah.
So it's like on those stage
We've only
directions.
been doing this now for 3 years or something.
Pause for applause. Oh, right. Yes, and also we'll be hearing from former striker Andy Baird as well.
We will also hear again from Gareth Ainsworth ahead of the weekend's trip to Lincoln City.
We'll also preview the Bucks and Bucks Cup semi-final between Wycombe Wanderers and Long Crendon.
And we will hear from Chris Forino as well after that game against Shrewsbury Town.
Not even in that order either.
No, that's true. And we'll chat about Wycombe Wanderers women.
Yes.
What else have we got coming up? We'll talk about Wanderers TV. We'll pay tribute to John Walters as well, who sadly passed away. We'll discuss why we're the Chairboys and not the Chairmen. And lots of other things as well.
Well, look ahead to Bob's trip to the US of A.
Oh yes, indeed.
Where he's going...
I hope to meet up with a couple of the Coohicks. I hope to.
That sounds like a documentary, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I'm going to be like the new Louis Theroux. Going to various bookshops in America, one of which happens to be Missy Coohick's bookshop. I'm very excited about that.
At home with the Coohicks.
I'm looking forward to seeing whether or not in Missy's bookshop there is anything about Wycombe Wanderers at all.
You hope there's a little corner.
Has she got small town dreams? Has she got some scarves, maybe, somewhere? Or some dog leads, even? I'm looking forward to finding out.
Excellently crowed in. If anyone's playing dog lead bingo on the show, you've got that.
That's it for this week.
Yeah. So you were at the Shrewsbury game at Adams Park on Tuesday. What did you see?
Well, for once, I saw us dominate possession. Well, I say dominate possession. 62% possession, which, it's not really like us.
That's very precise.
26 shots on goal. I wasn't marking down the possession myself. I am getting these stats from somewhere else. 26 shots on goal, 10 of them on target, none of them actually going in the back of the net, which was slightly frustrating. And you did get the impression that, yes, it was one of those games. Sam Vokes, I think, said that, he felt that actually was one of our best performances of the season without scoring. Anis Mehmeti definitely, when he came on, was very much like the kid at school who knows that they're really, really good and they're desperate to score a goal, and was doing absolutely everything he possibly could in the dying moments to try and make that happen. But alas, it was just one of those nights where the ball wasn't going in the net.
It's frustrating, isn't it? Because part of you thinks, they created so many chances, that's a good thing. Kept a clean sheet, that's a good thing. But just a point. Yeah,
really, really annoying. One of those games, again, like Gareth said a few weeks ago, about that you'll have 5 games where, you'll easily win. You'll have 5 games where you'll lose. And then 36 games where, it's very much... something might happen or won't happen. Had we got a goal in the first 5-10 minutes, I think we'd be sitting here talking about a 3 or 4-0 win. It looked like that sort of game, and you were thinking, the goal's coming, the goal's going to come soon, and then got to half time, and of course then as the second half went on, you were starting to think, it is going to be definitely one of those days. And there were even a couple of nervy moments in the last 5 minutes or so where Shrewsbury then hit us on the break. We were thinking, no! But luckily, that didn't happen either.
I think especially as well with the way the results went at the weekend, with no game for the Chairboys, of course, which we'll find out later on in the show what Gareth did with his day off. But you think, some of them are running away with it now. Rotherham obviously putting a bit of a run together. It doesn't seem like that long ago that Wycombe were top of the table and now sort of 12 points off the top, but only 3 points off second place. Yeah,
I think Rotherham have put together a fantastic run, and yes, are running out of sight really. So I think we're all now fighting for second, really, aren't we? Is it good that Wigan do seem to be having that slight trouble that Rotherham had last season, when actually you've got a lot of games in hand and then you play them and actually you're a bit tired. And of course they finally went out of the FA Cup on Saturday as well. It's a shame that they didn't get through to give them even more of a fixture problem. But yes, so Wigan currently, Rotherham top, 30 points, 30 games with 65 points. Second are Wigan, 27 games, 56 points. Then it's MK, 31, 56 points. Sunderland, 54 points from 31 games. Oxford, 53 from 31. And Wycombe then currently occupying the bottom playoff position, 53 points from 30 games, just ahead of Sheffield Wednesday, 52 points also from 30 games.
It's like the chart rundown, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yes.
I enjoyed that. Gareth spoke to Phil after the game on Tuesday night, and as he says, has everything apart from the goal, unfortunately.
We were superb today, really were, and everything but the goal. Some fantastic saves by the Shrewsbury keeper. I don't think he knew much about one of them. Hit his hip and went in, and the one that hit the post the first half, Pennington with an unbelievable clearance off the line. I don't know how he's got it over the bar from there, but do you know what? I was really, really proud of the boys. I always am, but the lockout was brilliant tonight. 2 shots, none on target against us. David Stockdale's last save was, a couple of days ago in training, so that's brilliant for us. Chris Forino comes in again, I think, becoming this player that I'm really excited to see. Yeah, everything but the goal, and that happens sometimes, and you've got to take that, and you've got to look through that as a manager, and you can't just be down and go, oh no, we didn't. I am so positive. I am like, right, we play like that again, we're bound to score, we're bound to get goals, we're bound to get wins. The results have semi-gone for us tonight, which is great. 3 points off second at this stage of the season. You tell me, any Wycombe Wanderers fans, if you wouldn't have taken that, because I know I would. Can't wait to get stuck into Lincoln on Saturday, a place I know really well, and I love going up there, but I want all 3 points. When we keep playing like that, we'll be absolutely fine this season. I can't see how we won't be, but really good play defensively especially, but Shrewsbury came to get a draw. They were slowing the game down, which we know all about at times, but they were slowing it down first half, second half, as much as they could. Seen a goalkeeper get booked that early in the second half for time wasting for a long time, but happens. Fair play. You got to credit Shrewsbury. They've gone away with a point at a team which historically they probably thought they'd come to Adams Park and win games. Now teams are brilliantly happy with a point, and for me that's massive progress for this club, and I can't wait, like I said, to get the boys back on Thursday, get them hitting the net a little bit. Thought Sully's chance was going to go in, and I think Bayo swapped shirts on the 87th minute, which could have been a penalty, but I'm going to put him in a Velcro shirt, I think, so it can rip off. No, fans were good, players were good, just didn't get that result that we deserved tonight.
And an impressive rearguard action from Shrewsbury as well, led by Aaron Pierre, a player that you know well. You've got
to credit him, Eubanks, Landels, Pennington and Pierre, and Marosa, the keeper. I mean, they've done really well today, and kept a team that does freely score. We score a lot of goals, so I've got to credit Shrewsbury and the way they've come here today and set up shop. That's what teams have to do. They want to stay in League One, and Steve Cottrell's a good guy, good manager, and he's discipline in his team today was good. We almost got there, just didn't quite hit the post. Like I say, everything except that net rippling, but I'm sure that'll be won't be far away.
And you handed a debut to Lewis Wing. How do you think he got in midfield tonight?
Yeah, I think Lewis did really well. I think in the first half especially, you saw some touches of class that he's got. He was unlucky not to score. Half volley as well, could have ricocheted anywhere. But we'll be seeing plenty more of him. But being able to put Kai Akinfenwa, Mameti on the pitch, and have Wheeler, Horgan, and Anthony Stewart, as well, off the pitch, not even getting those players on is again testament to where this club has come. Can't thank the owners enough, the Cougs, for giving me these resources, and I aim to pay them back with a high finish. Fans were great as well. It's a cold Tuesday night, plenty of football on TV, but they turned up, they got behind us. It may have been a don't leave early moment, but those who got off early, he might just got one over me today.
And talk about the depth of the squad again. You just talked about the attacking players, but you made 2 changes to the back 3 tonight, and as you said, a complete lockout.
Yeah, we worked hard on that, and Ryan Taffazoli and Anthony Stewart have played a lot of games for me, and they're just as good. We've all been locking out really well in training and working on this strategy that I think keeps a bit stretched sometimes, but boys got it spot on tonight. I think there was one moment where I was just a little bit worried, and I think they blasted it over the bar from 20 yards, but no, we had all the chances, just couldn't put it in the net, but that happens sometimes. It's football, and you've got to credit Shrewsbury. I'm not going to take anything away from them. I think we outshot them by about 26-2, I think the stats are, which is incredible, and 10 shots on target. You usually score a goal with that, but not tonight.
The manager's positivity, something that really comes across.
It really, really does. I was really interested in his comments about Bayo and Velcro, because I've always slightly wondered that. Not really that footballers should wear Velcro shirts, but you slightly wonder, in this day where sort of like pulling shirts is so common, why hasn't anyone invented a sort of cycling type shirt that you wear that actually I don't know. I mean, so the cyclists wear cycling shirts, so they can't be too hot. Surely you could play football in one of those, and then actually it would be really, really difficult to grab hold of someone's shirt as they're running past you.
That's why they changed the rugby shirts, didn't they? Because they used to be quite baggy.
Oh, really? Yes,
and now
of course.
they're quite clingy as well.
Because you used to have those traditional rugby type shirts. Yeah. Surely it does that not... For next season, could we not have some new sort of cycling kit? Missy, if you're listening. You could ask Ben Foster to design one for us.
Yeah. So, yes, Ben Foster.
Alternative football reference there for you.
Yeah. Also, Chris Forino, of course, was playing very well on the night.
He was fantastic. He really, really is a brilliant find. And also, we should mention Lewis Wing as well,
yes.
who does look like he's going to be very, very good. But yeah, Chris Forino, just his story, and you just think you would be forgiven for assuming that maybe we'd bought him from some championship side. He is that good, and yeah, I think he's got a very, very long future ahead of him.
So I think he's had 6 starts for the club, which is more than he imagined.
I set myself a target by January to be involved in the matchday squad once, including the bench. So I'm very happy with the way the season's gone. I couldn't have expected this.
Players like Joe Jacobs and Jack Grimmer alongside you tonight. Must be great to learn from those older pros.
Yeah, it's amazing. Through the game, we've got a good relationship. Me, JJ and Jack, we played a few games now together. And at the training ground as well, we're ironing out little details which we've ran through the week that we've obviously had the 10-day break and stuff. Yeah, it's been amazing and obviously a wealth of experience.
Well documented that you were about to go to university, but this is a different sort of learning you're doing here.
Yeah, I did actually go. So I was at university for 7 months. I dropped out when I had my trial about a year ago, and I said whether I get in here or whatever, I'm going to chase the footballing dream again at 20. So it was a brave decision, and I don't regret it one bit.
Fantastic, yeah. So Professor Jacobson then teaching the lessons.
There we go. It's more enjoyable than what I had a year ago, definitely.
And what's the goal? And you said you set a goal by January. What's the goal now between now and the end of the season for you personally?
Of course, well, just get promoted. I think that would be amazing as a team. I think that's first and foremost. And if I don't have to play again, I think I'll take that to get promoted. But for me personally, I want to see double digits now in terms of my starting, and I think that'll be a great rounded off season for me.
And the clean sheet, but you came close a few times tonight as well to scoring.
I need to get my shooting head on, I think. So yeah, twice. I think one came off my belly and chest, so a bit of a scramble, and then the second one just couldn't quite glance it on target.
And it's going to be a tough trip to Lincoln now for the squad. Was it important to not lose tonight, I guess, and get the 2 defeats out of the system?
Definitely. I think we set out again. Clean sheet was the most important thing. If you keep a clean sheet, you don't lose. And obviously we put the 2 games behind us with the 10-day break. The gaffer's been excellent at the training ground, and the boys have. And it's always a great environment here, and we've stuck it out well and worked on things that we needed to tonight to put it all behind us. Yeah.
So the break was a positive then, because out of Wycombe's control with the FA Cup fixture, was it good to have that extra time?
Definitely. And the boys were chomping at the bit the last few days to get out back on the pitch, because we want to play games and we want to put things right. But I think we also needed that break to it's a long season for the boys that have obviously played a lot more games, and kind of take that moment to take a deep breath, look at things. I think we're in a good position here.
Wycombe are in a good position as well. There's results. All the fans were checking the scores throughout the evening as well. High pressure situations. You must be really enjoying that part of it too.
I mean, definitely. I think this is my first season in professional football in the men's team, and I'm loving it. I think, me personally, I don't check the table too much. I'm focused on each game as it comes. But yeah, it's looking exciting with 16 games left to go.
And what would your advice be to young footballers out there who want to break into first team in professional football, who may be 16, 17 years old? Would you recommend this route?
I think, look, Loughborough is the best for sports in the UK. I gave up on football there. So me personally, I've had a unique journey, but I think, yeah, you're never too old. I think this club shows that, signing Bayo out of contract at 34, other people, JJ nearly 36, still doing it, still doing the business. So you're never too old to go out there and do it.
I think we might have a correction for that. I think we might be too old.
Well, you never know. I still harbour hopes of playing alongside Bayo and Sam Vokes one day.
We could be disruptive, couldn't we? In different ways. Chris Forino and, of course, Gareth Ainsworth. You can hear those interviews in full on Wanderers TV as well, which launched.
You said that on one of our trails once, that actually if Gareth needed somebody to sort of like put the opposition off, like corners and whatever,
I'd be a distraction.
You could tell a few jokes and whatever. I think you'd be great.
What's that over there?
Yeah, exactly. You never know. There might be a few spots going against Long Crendon in the Berks and Bucks Cup.
Yeah, I might need a corner flag or something. I could occupy that position.
Sponsored by Pedigree Chum. No, I might have made that up. But that's on Tuesday, isn't it?
Yes.
Slightly confusingly at Tame United.
I didn't get the dog food reference at all. Sorry.
Did you not?
No.
Barks and Bucks. Barks and Bucks.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
okay.
there you are.
Oh, dear.
Or Burks and Bucks, if that doesn't really work.
No.
People call it Burks. It's like, no.
They're the people that call it Beaconsfield, I think.
No, yes. No. Yes, okay. Yes, sorry, I was going to say. What? I thought you got that the wrong way around as well. But no, you got it the right way around. I would think I was slightly confused because...
Please show your workings.
Because I wanted to know how long it was going to take me to get to Beaconsfield today, and I asked Siri.
Okay.
And then Siri kept then giving me various instructions and saying Beaconsfield the whole time, almost to the point that I started getting used to it being called Beaconsfield and thinking that's how you pronounce it, but obviously it's not really.
Welcome to a new part of our show.
We don't talk about football at all.
Still to come, though, between now and literally the end of the show. We'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth once again, looking ahead to the game against Lincoln on Saturday, a club obviously he knows well.
Indeed, yes. Not the first game of the season at home.
No.
That joke will make sense later on in the programme.
Yes, it's an interesting reference. But we'll explain it later as well. Also, we'll hear from former forward Andy Baird next, here at Wycombe Sound.
Online, on Radio Player, and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Start being in Louisiana. Still to come on the Wycombe Wanderers show, we will be hearing from Gareth Ainsworth ahead of this weekend's trip to Lincoln City. We'll be reflecting on Wycombe Wanderers Wycombe Wanderers women as they come towards the end of their season.
I hope at the end of the season we do a Bob's Best Bits compilation.
Okay, yes. Well, and it'll just be me saying Wycombe Wanderers ladies like over and over again. And
no, just the
whoops, sorry.
The really quirky bits.
Oh, okay. The quirky bits.
Like the news references and
the quirky bits of Bob that don't make any sense if you're listening on the podcast. No, sorry, people listening on the podcast.
Or dog lead references that perhaps people missed earlier shows.
Yeah, we have to drive the audience to the actual programme so that it reflects in their audience figures. Actually, that's not really true.
This is the actual programme.
Well, that's what I mean. So I'm also aiming it at the people who then normally listen to the podcast, making them think we must listen on actual FM.
Great work. It's the second part of the Wycombe Wanderers show. If you're a regular listener at this time, thanks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sticking with us this long.
This is our second season, you know. It makes it sound American, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Season two of the Wycombe Wanderers show. After it won't be like Fast and Furious. It'll be like the Wycombe Wanderers 14 or something like that.
No.
Oh, I hope so, actually. Maybe. Anyway. Depends on our contract negotiations. Not that we have any.
Well, let's take Chris Forino's advice. It doesn't matter what age you are, you can keep going forever. was basically what he was saying.
Which links quite nicely, sort of, to our regular chats with former Wycombe Wanderers stars, thanks to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. This week,
thank you.
We catch up with former forward Andy Baird, who started as a trainee.
I came in... YTS scheme came in a little bit later. I think they'd already sort of signed their allocation and they found me a little bit later, so I came in part of the way through. It was brilliant when I first came. Football-wise, it was just a huge, massive leap and a step for me, and I loved every second of it. But dynamic-wise, in regards to a change room, it was quite different for me because obviously the YTSs back then were, you had a little bit more hands-on. You were cleaning the boots, maybe cleaning toilets or the stands or whatever. And I'd come from 3 years previously of playing men's football, so I'd already come from a men's change room. So the dynamics I found a little bit bizarre, if I'm honest. It felt almost like a little bit sort of step back in that sense. But football-wise, it was just brilliant. I mean, I loved the training and training every day. That was the first sort of time I got to experience that, and it was just fantastic in that respect.
I guess from a fan's point of view, that's really interesting as well, because you don't get to fully appreciate what kind of being a trainee involves.
No, well, I've been in a men's changing room for 3 years. So I knew when someone was trying to wind me up. I knew when someone was calling me out. And it was almost like, you weren't expected to respond or pander to pros or other staff members or other senior people around the place. But I found myself having to maybe bite my tongue and do things that maybe hadn't come naturally because of the 3 years I'd had previously to that, really.
So what were your initial impressions of being at the club and being amongst the other players? When
I came in as the YT side, I absolutely loved it. It was brilliant. We had, I'm sure everyone says it about the youth teams that they're in, we had a phenomenal bunch of lads. Obviously, a lot of them I came through with at the same time, like Maurice Harkin, Alan Beaton, Gary Ray. Gary Ray, sorry, not Gary Ray. You won't thank me for that. And there wasn't anyone. I can't remember not getting on with anyone. They might tell you something different, but like I said, a great group of lads. And then obviously because I'd had the 2 years at YT, I knew a lot of the pros anyway. I played a lot of them with them in the reserves. So yeah, it was a nice. Even though I turned pro, I suppose you didn't feel like you turned pro till 6 or 7 or 8 months down the line till you kind of got your feet under the table. But I loved being in and around the older lads, the more established players, because where I'd come from, like I say, playing in men's football, I'd always been maybe a little bit more comfortable to being in that sort of environment rather than being with my peers in my own age group, really.
And are there any games that particularly stand out during your early period at the club?
YT-wise, I think it was probably the first season we played in the FA Youth Cup. It was just, there was a different level of intensity to the game, the build-up to the game. Everything to do with the game had a different feel to it and a different course. Whereas up until then, we were playing in the leagues and we were playing in like the Southern Counties Cup or whatever. And it was all about, progression, improving, trying new things, trying to implement ways. But probably the FA Youth Cup was the first time it was like, right, this is a real proper game that we really need to go out and assert ourselves and really do everything we can to win. I think that was the first time I noticed the difference between being a YTS and training to play and being someone who what you needed to start bearing in mind and taking on with you and learning to actually be a professional, to actually compete and actually win games.
And I guess as well, around the time you were at the club, there's some big names and big characters, people like Steve Brown and Jamie Bates, obviously, in the heart of defence, and people like Michael Simpson and Danny Ball and Keith Ryan, of course, as well. Must have been great sort of playing alongside those types of people.
Phenomenal. I mean, Rhino, I spent a lot of time in and around with him because obviously when I first came to the club, he was injured. So he was always in and around when the YTs were in, cleaning and everything. And just a phenomenal guy to be around, I think, even with nothing to do with football, such a genuine, nice, well-meaning guy. And the sort of person, you feed off being around him. He's an enthusiastic person and it infects other people. Brownie, yeah, character. Love him. I know some people could take him the wrong way because he's a very strong character, but I personally liked him and, I associated him with players I played with in the past. So he was very much my cup of tea. Batesy was just hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. That's the only word I think I can use to describe him. But Simo, phenomenal player. Brilliant on the ball, just brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. And a good lad as well. I spent a lot of time with him. We lived very close to each other and used to travel in. So got great memories of him. But I mean, I could go through pretty much everyone again, almost like I said with the youth team. I don't think there was anybody that I can remember that I didn't get on with and that wasn't a good person in one way or another. I know you gravitate to certain groups, especially in sort of maybe age groups or groups you travel in with or whatever, but there wasn't anyone I could say in my time there who I disliked or didn't get on with.
It's really interesting speaking to ex-players from different eras, and you get the impression that obviously, their time was really special, and the sort of camaraderie they had in the dressing room was really special, and what they went through, because it all seems quite cyclical, doesn't it? There seems to be, so every sort of decade, there's either a promotion or a cup run, and so many sort of, as you say, characters and great players in different teams that seem to work so well.
Yeah, you get those sort of cycles, don't you? And I think I came in at sort of the maybe middle to end of a cycle, which had, the likes of Dave Carroll, Jason Cousins, Scotty sort of there and abouts and then back and then away and what have you. Rhino, real stalwarts that had been at the club and had come up through it and, went up to the almost near the top of the division and went to the FA Cup semi-final. And I think in football, you just get that certain blend, don't you? Over time, you have a few years where you're not quite at it or whatever, and the progression then starts to happen. And I came in at a time, I think, when the club had been struggling a little bit in regards to league form, but I think they had that backbone and that nucleus that had just been entrenched in the team really for a long time. And I was very fortunate that in some ways you were accepted into it, but then you had all these other great players coming in as well and taking it in a different direction on top of it. It was just always a constant mix, and I like being in and around that, the constant change, the constant progression.
I mean, it'd be rude not to talk to you about the FA Cup run, and I guess obviously fantastic to be playing in the Grimsby and Wolves games. It was almost 21 years, almost to the week, the Wolves game. Obviously everyone remembers the snow and people coming in to help out clear the snow, and Andy Rammel's goal celebration. And obviously, as we say, you played in the Grimsby and Wolves games. Were they sort of ties early on in the run where you thought something good, special could be happening here?
Well, I think that at the start of that season, we'd had a good start, and then we sort of had a little bit of a, not faltered, but we didn't keep up the sort of momentum. And I think it was a bit of a bitty season. There was flashes that we could do something, but you're never quite sure. And until you get that sort of continuity, I don't think we'd had a settled team at all. We'd had, various injuries, through every position at some points. We didn't have a settled team as such, but I think the game that sort of stood out in that, I mean, I only played the two, was when we went to Grimsby away. I mean, it was would have been softer playing on a car park. I mean, the pitch was frozen, the ball was frozen, and I hadn't really played with Andy Rammel much up until then. Like I say, we kind of kept missing each other either through injury or whatever. We hadn't really had a consistent amount of games together, but that game was probably the first game I found that I started to read his game and I started to play off of him a little bit better, and we started to work as a pair rather than two people just working hard to try and make something happen. It actually started to feel as though we had a little bit of a sort of partnership.
And I guess you even did the Wimbledon game, because obviously that felt really special with all the drama around that, and Martin Taylor's penalties, of course, and heroics. And I guess then it kind of felt like, we could actually do something here.
Definitely. I think the second part of the game, I don't remember seeing much about because I got stretchered off. But there was definitely a feel about the place after that, and going into the Leicester game. Sometimes when you go into cup games, you think, it's going to be a good occasion. We're going to give a real good account of ourselves, and we'll just see what happens. But no, I think there was some sort of maybe little underlying feeling. You don't acknowledge it too much, or you don't expand on it because you don't want to, because you want to stay focused on what you're doing. But like I say, even though I wasn't involved in the squad, you could feel around the place there was a buzz, and maybe because of all the adversity we'd gone through with injuries and player availability and everything else, there was just maybe a little bit more of an attitude. Well, sod it, we're really going to go for this, because what else do we have to lose? We're down to the bare bones player wise. We're putting out adverts for players and so on and so forth. But there was a quiet, assured confidence about the team.
I was going to say,
I think that showed in their performances all the way through the Leicester game and even in the semi-final against Liverpool. Yes, we might not have bettered them as such, but I don't think we massively got outdone by them. It's probably moments of individual skills or one or two quick moments that undid us in both those games, but we were never outplayed or chasing our tail or anything like that.
You mentioned the appeal for players that's gone down in folklore via CFAX, which for you younger listeners might not even know what that is. But it must have been strange at the time to be involved in that. But obviously having Roy come in, and obviously the heroics in the Leicester game as well.
Bizarre, just purely bizarre. I mean, obviously I was had a little bit of a different view to the other lads, because I was sort of sat in the treatment room or on the sideline or wherever. So just watching the dynamic, the setup, not thrown together, but literally it was a case of, well, this is what we've got. We've got to kind of move with it. I mean, I don't know what it must have felt like to the lads who just see, literally, I think Clarkey walked in from Bury, and then you had Roy flew in from, I can't remember where at the time, and just sort of strolled onto the pitch and was playing. It's just it was very bizarre to watch. So I don't know what was right for the rest of the lads on the training ground and on the pitch and in the changing room.
But as you say, fantastic to be a part of. But you mentioned obviously being stretched off, an injury played such a part, unfortunately, in your sort of career. And I believe you were nicknamed Crash Test Dummy, which obviously you can laugh at now. But yeah, it must be quite frustrating in a way, and must you need loads of mental strength to sort of get through.
Yeah. Well, I think at the time, obviously, I came into the game and I had a couple of little injuries, and I signed pro a little bit later than some of the other lads. So I was always thinking, not wanting to play catch up, but I was always like, I want to go out I want to win each game, I want to win each tackle, I want to win each header, I want to, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When maybe at the time I needed to have a little bit of an older head on my shoulders, shall we say. But yeah, I don't regret any of the ways I played. I think that's what made me the player that I was. Yeah, I can't argue with it. I only had myself to blame for the way I played in that respect. But I think the injury itself, it's just one of those freak things. It wasn't, I had much worse, much more severe tackles and got up and shook them off sort of thing. But it's just one of those, I'm afraid.
And you mentioned the partnership with Andy Rammell. There's so many sort of great strikers around and forwards about that time. I think when you made your debut, you came on for Mark Stallard, didn't you? And there was obviously Jermaine McSporran and Sean Devine at the club as well. And that must be really exciting for you. Yeah,
it was brilliant. I mean, as a YTS, Stall came in. I think John Gregory brought him in. And you could see, like I say, he wasn't super quick. He wasn't brilliant in the air. But his movement and his finishing was just brilliant. And a player I always looked up to, I always tried to watch when he played. And unfortunately, I only played sort of a handful of sporadic sort of games with him because, like I said, I just sort of turned pro and what have you. I think he had a bit of an injury. And then Sanchez came in and he played a couple of games and then he left. So he was definitely a player I would have liked to have played more with because as a YTS, he was probably one of the forwards that I'd watch play the most.
And what was it like playing under the likes of Laurie Sanchez and obviously John Gregory while you were there as well?
Two very, very different approaches. I mean, Greg's, I think, as a football-minded person was brilliant. You know, the way his professionalism, his attitude to the way people should train, his attitude to how he wanted people to be, how he wanted them to behave, what he expected from them. I wouldn't say it was regimented, but it was all laid out. It was very meticulous, you know, whereas Sanchez was very much, you could see obviously the Wimbledon side, the influence on him. It was very much about coming in, doing your jobs, concentrating on certain areas, doing things. And then you'd have Gibbo, who then his assistant would be into you and, you know, he'd give you more of the information or maybe the stuff exactly you needed to be doing and what had you. It was lovely. And then obviously Neil Smiley took over for a while as well. And I knew his style well from playing under him in the youth team. And he had an idea of, you know, very expansive. He was a winger himself. So he liked to attack teams. He liked to get at teams, get behind teams, get balls into the box. He used to be very positive. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I say in the small space of time I was there to get to experience quite a few different managers. And then I got obviously, when I was in the YTS as well, it's a little bit of the way Alan Smith and Dave Kemp did things as well. So it was brilliant. Like I say, when you have an interest in a sport like that, it's the more you can experience, the more you can witness, the better, really.
That must be great as a young player as well, to, like you say, to have worked with Neil and then to be sort of playing under him when he was manager. We had Jim Melvin on last week and he was chatting about, you know, how great Neil was to work with and fantastic, as you say, for you to kind of have that transition. Yeah,
I mean, as a coach, YT-wise, it was phenomenal. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic coach. I can't remember any sessions that I didn't like. When he obviously went to manager, the dynamics changed and it probably took me a little while to process that and to sort of gauge how things were. But yeah, I think it's just unfortunate he didn't have a little bit more time because I knew his style. I knew how he wanted to play. And I very much would have fitted into that style. But yeah, it was a brilliant thing for me to have going up through the transitions that he obviously transitioned up as well. But on the actual turnover bit, when it actually happened, it probably took me a little bit more time to process that he's gone from being my youth team coach to the first team coach. So obviously, therefore, my behaviour needs to be a little bit more different in regards to that. But it's all a learning curve.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting. And overall, how do you sort of look back at your time at the club?
You know something? Not to sound in a negative way, but I always quite struggled in regards to, I loved playing football. I loved being in and around the changing room. And I loved playing and everything. I've always loved sport, but I found it really hard. I was very lethargic, very tired, very drained, could be a little bit ratty and irritable at times. And when Sanchez pulled me in and said, actually, we're going to release you, we're not renewing your contract, it was very bizarre because I felt quite a sort of level of relief because in my head I couldn't work out what was going on. And I thought maybe football just isn't mentally the right sort of environment for me, for me to be, positive and progress. I came out of the pro game. I played semi-pro for a couple of years, but I had the same sort of problems after a little while. I was obviously able to get, because of the step down in level, I was able to get away with it, shall we say, a little bit more. I retired when I think I was 28, 29, because I just got to the stage where I couldn't do anything. I was just knackered all the time. And a couple of years after retiring, I was still having the same symptoms. I went away on holiday, became very ill, came back home, started testing things, and then was diagnosed I was actually a celiac. So, which I was annoyed about in one respect, because if I'd have known something about it, I could have done something. But at the same time, it was quite nice to actually attribute that to some of the issues I'd been having and on an ongoing basis, because I wouldn't say I had unresolved issues with football until then, but it didn't sit comfortably with me that my evaluation that maybe it just mentally wasn't the right environment for me wasn't enough for me. It didn't explain enough for me. But having the diagnosis of being celiac and then going back through with all the health professionals, tracing everything back through, it just made complete and utter sense, which was bizarre.
Because do you think it ties in? I think there's a lot of fans, especially, who don't really appreciate. There must be a lot of pressure on being a forward and a striker, and to get goals and to be firing all the time. Yeah, well, I mean, again, it was a bizarre thing that I played men's football before I sort of came into the professional scene. That I'd never been a forward. I'd always just been played as a forward because I was played out wide because I was playing men's football from sort of 13, 14 onwards, and I was just very small. So physically, I couldn't compete in certain areas. So I was kind of put in areas either up the field with, a big sort of meathead up front, or I was put sort of out wide. So it wasn't, playing forward wasn't a natural position as such for me. I was always more a defensive-minded player within my own age group, but where I lived and grew up, there just wasn't, enough of a league or anything for me to develop or play in my own age group, really. But in regards to playing the pressure, and I spoke about myself mentally not being in the right place or not thinking I was in the right place. There is pressure. Of course there's pressure because you want to win, you want to do well for your team, and you want to do well for the fans. I never felt it as pressure when I played up front. I always wanted to, and to score goals, and I always wanted to assist other people in scoring goals. But I wouldn't say I felt uncomfortable playing up front. I just felt a little ungamely. It didn't quite fit with me, but I understood that I had certain attributes that made myself a handful up front, and I always used them the best that I could. And I think playing with someone like Sean Devine is probably how most people probably best remember me in a partnership. I knew where Sean was going to be. I knew he had one thing in mind. He was all about scoring. He'd put the ball in from the most ridiculous angle, or he'd shoot from the most ridiculous angle, but you wouldn't moan at him because probably 8 times out of 10, somehow he'd toe punt it in from the corner flag or something. So I saw my job playing with someone like him was, right, I need to get him the ball in as many dangerous areas as I possibly can. And if I can weigh in with a few goals as well, brilliant. But I never saw it as pure pressure to score goals. But I think maybe that's because I wasn't a sort of natural forward as such. But I saw my job as to hold the ball up, get the rest of the team up the field, run the channels, get balls in the box, make a nuisance of myself, twist and turn defenders, get out people, commit people, and like I say, make as many opportunities for the players who are going to stick the ball in the back of the net as possible, really. And what do we find you doing these days?
Nothing like that. No, I'm involved in a small sourcing agency. We import a lot of stuff from Eastern Europe for the sort of building and furniture trade, sort of wood and plastic component parts. And the other side of the business I have a company that does performance and conditioning called warriorperformance.co.uk that I just do performance and conditioning for multi-directional sport team athletes. So ice hockey, netball, basketball, rugby, football. any team players that play in a team environment, and we work on improving them, just, strip them down biomechanically, work on their muscle memory, mindfulness memory and syncing, just a lot of calisthenics, dynamics, biometrics, short, high intensity stuff with proprioception, and heavily focusing on deceleration.
Well, it does sound very good. As you say, very different as well.
Yeah.
It's been brilliant to speak to you. Thank you so much, Lee, for your time.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to say thank you to the fans for my time when I was at the club. They were the one resounding positive, no matter what was going on, whether I was in the treatment room, whether I was playing terribly on the pitch or playing well. They were absolutely superb to me, and that's the one resounding positive memory I will take with me is the fans. So thank you very much for that. Any of them that are old enough to remember me, that is.
Fantastic interview with Andy Baird. Really, really interesting to hear about the celiac diagnosis as well, which you just really feel for him didn't actually come any sooner. Many, many thanks to the Ex-Players Association for arranging all of the ex-player interviews that you hear here on the Wycombe Wanderers show on Wycombe Sound. Some sad news as well coming in from the Ex-Players Association this week. The death of former 50s goalkeeper Johnny Walters. Although he was quite small for the goalkeeping position, he did actually play regularly for the reserves at Lokes Park, later became a successful local businessman, and I really like this, and this happens so often, doesn't it, with regards to players who've been part of the light and dark blue quarters and then keep their association with the club going, because he sponsored the Wanderers youth team for several seasons and was also a key member of the Ex-Players Association, generously sponsoring our very first annual dinner back in 2007. Our thoughts go out to his family.
Online, on Radio Player and on 106.6 FM. This is Wycombe Sound.
Still to come in the final part of the Wycombe Wanderers show, we'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth.
Can you stop playing that mouth organ? The Wycombe Wanderers women have their final, yes, honestly, we were slightly surprised, but their final home game of the season this weekend. They face Ascot United at the Blackwell Heath campus of the Bucks College group. Kick-off is at 2 o'clock. Then after that, they play Winchester City Flyers. They've got a game against AFC Stoneham, and not very much more that I can see at the moment on the FA website that gives all of the Wycombe Wanderers women information. And we also have a game as well on Tuesday night when Wycombe will be playing Long Crendon. This is the men, incidentally, in the Berks and Bucks Cup semi-final. It's being played at Tame United's ground, which is the ASM Stadium. Not quite sure what ASM stands for.
It's probably a company that sponsors it.
Assistant Studio Manager? Alien Space Monsters? I'm not quite sure. Anyway, you can find details with regards to the ticket details. That's what I'm trying to say. Simply by going onto the Long Crendon website, and you then get directed along to another ticketing website where it then says buy tickets. Join the guest list, which is slightly weird. It feels like you're going to a nightclub or something. But anyway, that is on Tuesday at 7:45, and tickets are £8 for adults and then various concessions.
Something else which was also announced this week was the January Player of the Month award.
Oh, yes.
If you voted, here's a message from the winner.
Ooh.
Hi everyone at Wycombe Sound, it's Jack Grimmer here. I just wanted to send a little message to thank everyone that voted for me for Player of the Month. It was a very great month for me personally, and I'm very thankful for everyone that took time to vote for me. It is very much appreciated. Here's hoping we have a strong February and go on to have a strong finish to this season. Take care everyone.
Great to hear from Jack, friend of the show.
That was
Jack.
nice, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good. Earlier on today I caught up with manager Gareth Ainsworth to find out what the team did and him on their day off on Saturday.
No, it was a day off. So we got them in Sunday and Monday. So Saturday was a day off for everybody, but obviously watching football and keeping an eye on obviously the results of the cup league, we're just getting that chance in now with the season to go. We're in amongst the top, and we were obviously all texting each other around. I think about 4:30, all the results were going the right way, and then 4:45, there's a couple of late goals that made it the picture change a bit. So yeah, we're just as like the fans probably watching all the results coming in, but also working hard on improving some of these development players, which we're definitely seeing the benefits of, and yeah, we got them in Sunday and Monday. We tried to make it as normal a week as possible, sort of a Thursday, Friday sort of scenario for Shrewsbury. And I was pleased with the performance against Shrewsbury. So yeah, good weekend off, but back to the grindstone now, and it's quite a big schedule now from now to the end of the season.
It's strange, isn't it? Many teams around the tops, apart from Rotherham, obviously, seem to be struggling to put a sort of consistent run together. And it seems to be sort of the time of year, I suppose, for teams who seem to be a bit inconsistent.
Yeah, and it's January window as well, and a lot of teams have strengthened, and I think teams are getting used to each other again and playing different ways and playing different systems and playing different personnel. So I think in January, especially towards the end of January, start of February, you always get some crazy results because teams have strengthened, teams have lost players. So it's a definite change. There's a definite dynamic change when you get past January, and that was definitely apparent in the last few games. Apart from Rotherham, who seem to be very strong and very consistent, and fair play to them. They're this yo-yo side that obviously can spend quite a bit being up and down. They've reaped the rewards of that, but also they're a solid outfit with a manager who's been in charge quite a long time now, who know what they're doing. So fair play to them. But all up for grabs elsewhere, and we are, it's still 3 points off second place, which is a fantastic position to be starting right now.
And as you're saying, there must be quite a sense of pride in the teams which you're sharing company with in that top six of the table.
Yeah, of course, and I can't dismiss MK Dons or maybe Oxford, because both of those teams haven't been in the Premier League, but they're definitely big clubs, and with ourselves, we're sitting amongst a group of teams that have all been in the Premier League, by Rotherham, but they've been Championship many times, and it's great company to be in. Ipswich and even Bolton are coming now. Sheffield Wednesday, huge team. Sunderland, Portsmouth look like they could be putting something together, and Wigan. It's going to be a real challenge now from now to the end of the season to stay amongst these boys. But I believe that we've got enough to do that and some. I really hope that we can aim for one of these top promotion places. That's what we still want to aim for. In years gone by, we've dampened our aspirations really just for expectation levels more than anything, and to take the pressure off the boys. But we're a good side, and I'm really proud to say that Wycombe Wanderers now competing at the top end of League One, as I've said many times this year, is phenomenal. Let's all remember where we were, and that's the humility that is a key value for me. Please don't be getting carried away thinking we should be winning these, we should be getting promoted, we should be doing this. Let's get what we deserve. But how good is it to be challenging around this group? Because little than 3 years ago, we were going to Southend needing to win to stay in League One, and that was a fantastic achievement. Never mind, vying for the Championship week in, week out.
Overall, how do you reflect on Tuesday's game? There were a lot of shots, which a very positive thing, obviously, but I guess a source of frustration as well. Yeah,
as a manager, I've just got to look through the performance. The results, and see the performance more than anything. That's key. And as a manager, you have to rise above everything else. And I was really, really pleased. If we continue 26 shots a game and 10 shots on target, then I am going to be banking on us finishing in that top 3 definitely, because that is good enough to win any game. And it was just one of those games where Pennington clears one off the line unbelievably. You do that 9 times out of 10, you put it in your own goal. Brandon Hanlon hits the inside of the post rather than it going in off that. Chris Forino, the keeper's already diving when it hits him on the hip and goes goalbound and lands in the keeper's arms. These things are just a bit of luck against us there. So, but what I want to focus on is 4 touches in our box in 90 minutes. That's all Shrewsbury had, and 2 of those were tackles. It's just phenomenal how the boys took on what I tried to put in place last week about the defending and the locking out, and how secure we needed to be, especially after the MK Dons and Morecambe games. I was quite concerned about being open at times, and we worked really hard on those days. So when everybody's looking at the chances created and we should have scored and we should have done this, I'm quietly absolutely buzzing with the defensive display on Tuesday night, and if we can take that forward, the fantastic Arsenal team of the 90s built everything on being solid, and if you're not solid, you're going to come a cropper, in games. And I thought the back three, the back five, the back six with David Stockdale were just awesome. Really, really proud of them, and for me, that was a giant step forward.
And really nice to see Lewis Wing making his debut as well.
Lewis is he's come in, and I thought first half he got really amongst it. He's going to get used to the way we play. We're a very high energy pressing side, and when we work a lot of second balls and then settling the ball down once we can win that second ball. And he's probably used to playing total football out from the back, which can be risky, but also can get you involved a lot more. So it's all a learning curve for everybody, and like I say, I'm really proud to say that we're right up amongst it. I think Rotherham and ourselves are probably similar styles of football, and there's one or two others around us. Yeah, it's really interesting. And that's why we love the game so much. It's brilliant. But Sam Boakes being back, Josh Scowen almost making the squad. I think he'll probably be around it on Saturday, which would be fabulous. It's going to be a real good push. Dominic Gape as well. Actually, he's very, very close now to coming back. And Nick Freeman's out on the pitches, so could we be getting a full squad at just at the right time? I'm really hoping so. Although your next injury can always be just around the corner. But I've got to praise the medical staff again this season. I've had very few muscle injuries or pulls, and we seem to have it really spot on with that. And I can't be doing my job without the team around me.
And obviously Lincoln next, a team that we haven't seen for a while. They were the first team to visit Adams Park in the opening League One game of the season, a 1-0 victory that day, of course. But I guess they're a team as well who've sort of struggled for form, but can be quite dangerous as well, getting wins against the likes of Sunderland and Oxford recently. Yeah,
I think Accrington was our first game, but Lincoln came shortly after that. But it was a game that we were really, we started the season really well. Like you say, Accrington, and then going to Cheltenham, and coming to town not far after that. And it was a real, we had the momentum from pre-season. We had this way about us early in the season, and you had everyone fresh, everyone was playing. I think Nick Freeman was the game we got injured, and he was having a fantastic game that day. So it's a game again. We don't want to give anyone an easy game against us. We want to go there and press them and do what we do well and make teams change for us, and that's important because teams are doing that now, whereas in the past we've had to change for them. They're changing for us, and that's huge respect for us and the boys and what they've done so far this year.
And just finally, we've not spoken to you since. You must be so proud and pleased with the reaction that Matt Bloomfield's had to his news, being at the club for 23 Watford managers.
That's a nice way of putting it. Yeah, he's definitely. I think Matt, for being at one club for so long, I think he had about 5 or 6 managers at Wycombe Wanderers, and me for probably more than half his time here, which I'm really proud to say has been brilliant to have. Like I've said in the press numerous times, my roommate, my captain, and now one of my right hand man. He's absolutely key to this club, and Wycombe Wanderers can't lose people like Matt Bloomfield. He's key to going forward with Wycombe Wanderers and keeps that consistency and continuation of what we're proud of. We can never lose that. And at the end of the day, win, lose or draw, you're a Wycombe fan because of the people, because of the community, because of what it means to you, this club. It's not all about the trophies. It's not all about the winning. It's those moments when you strip it all back. That's a phenomenal story. And I wouldn't be the manager I was without Matt Bloomfield. And I'm hoping he could say I've given him a few things as a player too. But no, he's a top guy, and what a great career he's had.
That shows what happens when you don't scroll down in the fixture list enough.
It does indeed. And also I feel that you've possibly been putting some sound effects in as well as playing the mouth organ a lot during this show. We definitely had a dog during the Andy Baird interview.
Possibly a bird.
I think we had a dog just then in Gareth right at the end. And possibly a bird or maybe a dog squeaky toy, I'm not sure.
Join us next week for more Wycombe Wanderers stuff and other things as well.